Yo, what is good, everybody? It is your boy Golden Falls Golden, what ifs, whatever you want to call me, and I am back. Yes, I am back. This is part 3 of What If Deku had Toji's heavenly restriction. Sorry for taking so long. Kind of been preoccupado with doing some other stuff that I've been working on, and yeah, I just got kind of caught up and lost track of days. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but this is kind of like what I do for the most part in terms of YouTube, which is definitely a blessing and awesome. But yeah, I do get caught up doing miscellaneous stuff from time to time. So I apologize about that. But I am back. Yes, I am back with part 3. So if you enjoy, show some love, leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment down below. Excuse me. And yeah, that's all I got to say. And I don't want to waste much more of your time. So let's just get right into the what if. Let's get it. Izuku Midoriya is going to start in the UA Sports Festival, and he's going to, well, do his normal speech because that's what he has to do due to the fact that he was #1 in his entire class. Now, everybody kind of listens to Izuku speak, but it's kind of odd because he seems extremely tired, as if he's been running like 50 miles a day and he's gotten no rest at all. Like he's been straight up awake for the last 50 days straight. That's literally what he looks like and literally what he sounds like at this moment. But he does say some very passionate things in terms of telling everybody that they're gonna put on a show and they're gonna absolutely try their best and everybody's going to do amazing, but he's going to do the best because he is the best and whatever, right? So he says all these things, but all of it is kind of jumbled up and everybody's kind of looking at it as if, well, there must be something wrong with him. I mean, he actually might be just completely exhausted or completely out of it. And it's a bit worrisome because if he's that exhausted, maybe it's for the best that he's not out here. But it seems like Izuku doesn't necessarily even have a choice and he's going to be out here anyways. So he starts with the very first task or the very first event, and that would be the simple obstacle course race. And everybody seems to be pretty excited about this, but Izuku is on like full and utter autopilot at this point. But he's able to make it through the obstacle course race way easier than everyone else. The giant corridor, that's super light work for Izuku, and getting past the robots, it would be no sweat. Same thing with a giant canyon. I mean, his flexibility, his agility, his ability to just parkour and have a stable body. I mean, he is a freak of nature, and he has very vast amounts of similarities to All Might, but isn't super bulky and shredded in a way, right? He is definitely fit, but he's not bulky and shredded, or he's not like super bulky in terms of he's not able to like scale on small wires or anything like that. He'd easily be able to either clear the gap or go across the wire extremely smoothly, and he'd be able to do these things very easily. But he kind of does it while just coasting. I mean, he dodges the robots, goes across the wires, even walks past all of the mines on the minefield very easily, but it seems all instinctive, as if everything is instinctive to him, as if there isn't any really thinking to it. And while Aizawa watches this, he's kind of smirking inside because he now understands and realizes what Izuku truly is capable of, and that's these senses that he has have been heightened to 1000%, and he doesn't even realize that himself. He doesn't even realize that his senses have been cranked up to 1,000,000, and he hasn't been able to see that until literally now. And he's not even sure if Izuku sees that because, you know, he's completely and utterly out of it at the moment. But the fact is, his senses are like cranked to 1,000,000, so he's able to literally sense where things are, how things should be, what he should do, and that includes with basically avoiding the minefield and easily getting past certain obstacles and stuff like that. And frankly, he would finish #1 in the obstacle course race, and everyone kind of expected this. I mean, the audience did struggle hearing what he had to say, but they did know he was kind of the prodigy of UA, and he was kind of being deemed or leaked as the next All Might. But of course, nobody believed that specifically. But you know, he had to be something really good if they were even putting that label near him. So he had to be pretty damn good. So the number 1 slot is not too surprising for Izuku. But of course, that does come with some, well, you could call it backlash. And well, it all deals with actually what he's going to maintain in the cavalry battle, being that the cavalry battle that is coming up will actually have some points involved, being that he is the number 1 person, or got the number 1 slot. He will now be forced into having the more or less like immediate winnable band, being that of like the 10 point or 10 million point band. And since he has that band, of course everybody's going to be gunning for him. But it's a little different involving this version of Izuku, because he is pretty damn strong, and nobody's going to be like, oh yeah, I don't want to be with this guy because he has 10 million points. There's going to be quite a few people that actually want to join Izuku because of the fact that they know how strong he is, and it's an automatic win con if they just keep the 10 million band. And a lot of people, there's a good amount of people that just will decide not to gun for him once they see how he's able to handle the other people, or how he's able to handle the people that eventually will come for them. And it's going to make it very, very clear that he is not someone to be messed with. And he ends up making a pretty decent squad. I mean, the squad would be something very, very normal, because he personally wouldn't care about who's on his team. So he would kind of just not even really know who's on his team. He would probably have someone like Ochako Uraraka, being that Ochako is sort of friends with him. He saved her one time, so he's like, okay, yeah, sure. And then the rest he doesn't really care that much about. I mean, he kind of says, like, you know, whoever wants to join can join, and he kind of just coasts like that. And we'll just, for some simplicity's sakes, we'll give him the same crew that he ended up having, and that would be Meihatsume, Tokiyami, and also Ochako, because it makes it a little bit easier. And there's really no point of him not having the same crew. I mean, it doesn't change that much, being that these 4 are or were kind of important to the growth of the normal Izuku. But now, with that said, it doesn't matter, like I said, who's on his team. It kind of just gives them a free gateway to the next round, because Izuku's going to basically single-handedly do this. Because for one, once the first team tries to rumble on in and try to, you know, grab the band, it doesn't go too well for them, like, at all. Izuku easily is able to fend them off, even if he's on the shoulders of other people. Like, he can easily fend them off, and that includes literally him just fending them off in hand-to-hand combat and so on. And it's one of the easiest things for Izuku to do, because they're all just basically doing a frontal assault. And once he shows off his just immense strength, people realize very quickly that they should not mess with him at all. Now, they might have been able to get his band if they all kind of teamed up together and stuff like that. There was probably a good chance they would have, but of course they're not really thinking about that when they see Izuku kick somebody into oblivion or kick him straight out of the ring, and all they're thinking is, wow, okay, like, let's not mess with this person at all. The only people that would actually even try to target Izuku would be Shoto Todoroki and also Katsuki Bakugo, being that Bakugo has a grudge against Izuku, or at least somewhat of a grudge, trying to prove what he's worth, or trying to prove that he's better or as good or whatever to Izuku. And Shoto is also kind of trying to prove that he's better than his father, or at least to an extent is. So he's going to somewhat want to take down Izuku, showing off what he's capable of in the face of someone that is supposed to be the #1 student. Now, all of those assaults on Izuku do not work. Bakugo stands no chance. The explosions literally do not hurt Izuku, and Izuku knows so much about Bakugo to the point that it's not even really fair. Like, Izuku's mind, or just mind for fighting, is a lot better than all of them. So even in this unorthodox state, Izuku's able to maintain and contain every single person that tries to hurt him or anybody else in his crew, and he's able to maintain his 10 million point ban pretty damn easily. And this is still an Izuku that is extremely just coasting at this point. I mean, he is extremely tired. You can literally tell he's tired, but luckily enough, he could literally sit on the shoulders of somebody, so it ended up not being too big of a deal, because, you know, he was kind of just chilling, fending people off, which gave him a little bit of a rest time. And this would lead him to the very next round, and that very next round would be more or less something that is going to show what they're capable of in a 1 versus 1 setting, and it's a very tournament based format. And the first person that Izuku goes head to head with would be someone that's actually not even in Class 1A or Class 1B or any of the hero course in general. This is somebody that's actually just in the normal general studies, and that would be Hitoshi Shinso. Now, this would be a little bit confusing for Izuku, because he would think to himself, well, like, why is he here in general? Like, why would he even be in this one-on-one fight if he's in the other course or in the general studies course? And he would then soon realize that he must have a special type of quirk. I mean, Izuku would come to that conclusion pretty damn quick, thinking to himself, like, okay, well, he must be some sort of, like, freak in terms of a quirk. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but or nothing wrong with being a freak necessarily, but still, he definitely is thinking, like, okay, this person's definitely some sort of a freak, or whatever quirk he has must be freakish if he could be in general studies but then not get into Class 1A or Class 1B and stuff like that. He would then meet Shinso, and Shinso would begin talking to him, and as Shinso talks to him, it's as if red flags are going off like crazy in the brain of Izuku, like insane. It's as if something's telling him not to respond, and Izuku actually doesn't understand why he's feeling this way. It's as if his brain is like straight up revolting the idea of talking to this person, and continues to do so as Shinso continues to speak more and more and more. Shinso even goes as far as calling Izuku lucky, or even complimenting him, or even going as far as telling him that he's kind of wasting his potential, and that he could be doing so much more, and this and that and this, and it keeps going, and he continues to try and do this, and Izuku kind of allows him to do so, thinking to himself that he wants to know why exactly he's doing all of these things and why he's saying these things. And then it clicks in Izuku's head that Shinso must have some sort of voice-like quirk, or maybe like a hypnosis quirk with his voice, or maybe a quirk that allows him to control others with his voice, but it must have a stipulation. And he quickly realizes that the stipulation is 1000% him just talking back, or maybe even answering a question of some sort. And he would then just dash at Shinso and grab him and lean him off the stage. As he's leaning him off the stage, he would then nod his head towards Shinso as he would respond to one of the questions. And Shinso would be completely shocked by this, because, well, he obviously figured out what his quirk did. Why would he do that? And Izuku would kind of take a tumble off the stage of the order of Shinso, and everybody would freak out, saying that this was one of the biggest and most insane underdog stories ever. This was the #1 student, and he just got knocked off by a general studies student. I mean, this is serious. People need to really watch and check out what's going on. And everybody's freaking out, and Izuku kind of just shrugs it off and kind of thinks to himself that now he can go and actually rest, because he's freaking exhausted after all the training that Aizawa put him through, and also, well, the fact that he's exhausted from freaking doing this entire, like, you know, the obstacle course race and all of it in terms of the UA Sports Festival on basically like no sleep and just no rest at all. And he wanted to get out of here as soon as possible. But he also feels that someone like Shinso does deserve a chance, and it seems like he really does want to become a hero, so might as well give someone like him a chance, and you never know, it could work out for the best, at least to a certain extent. Now, this would lead Izuku to kind of just missing the rest of the UA Sports Festival. Like, he doesn't really care what the other people do and how it goes. He does want to give Shinso a chance, but he doesn't really care to, like, you know, stay there and watch him. I mean, he's not really that invested in it. So he decides that he's just going to take off early and go rest. But of course, Aizawa would drag him upstairs and would tell him that since he wants to cut out so early, he's now going to have to watch the rest while sitting next to President Mike and himself, which would definitely disappoint Izuku because he just wants to take a nap and he's exhausted. In which he still ends up taking the nap because, you know, Aizawa would just let him sleep at one point, but he is forced to basically stay up there with them and not watch from, like, you know, the normal parameters or just leave in general because they're still technically in the school day. Well, sort of. So they watch or Izuku does watch, but, like, you know, mildly. And they do watch Shinso unfortunately lose because once they figure out what his quirk can do and what he's capable of, yeah, you can counter it pretty damn easily. But, I mean, it's a pretty damn good quirk for a hero, especially one that is basically a new one where villains aren't going to know exactly what your quirk is and it won't know for sure exactly what it does. And it seems like there's a lot of different variations you could definitely use to make it better. But beating the #1 student in Class 1A definitely put Shinso on the radar, especially for many other people. And that includes UA itself, but also any other hero agencies out there that are looking for a kind of underrated new type of hero that's got tons of potential and that's up and coming. I mean, this has definitely helped Shinso more than you could possibly imagine, but even Izuku doesn't even understand how much that truly helped Shinso. But unfortunately, the person that would actually win would be Bakugo, and Bakugo would immediately be freaking out. Not in a good way, because he would be mad that Izuku took the dive early because he wanted to prove himself against him. But Bakugo was able to defeat Shoto Todoroki, being that Todoroki refuses to use his fire side, and there's no way that someone like Bakugo is going to convince him otherwise. But there is a little bit of merit to what Bakugo was saying, and Bakugo did convince him a little bit to at least think about using his fire side, but obviously he's not going to use his fire side. I mean, there is no, like, Izuku at this moment, like, you know, telling him that, oh, you know, that's your quirk and stuff like that, you know, that whole moment. That moment doesn't happen. Bakugo's not that type of person, and there's just no way that he would even get him to that point to even use his fire side. But it might force him to at least question a little bit if he should or shouldn't, and so on. Now, this would lead us to our normal thing that happens here, and that would be the normal internships. And you might be questioning, okay, so where's Izuku going to go? And actually, it would be pretty simple to just place Izuku with someone like Aizawa and have him continue to work with Aizawa, sharpening his tools and also just getting better at what he's already capable of doing. But it seems like there is a vast amount of people and a vast amount of just, you know, hero agencies that really want to work with Izuku, like really bad. So he does have a plethora to choose from, and that even includes someone that is very, very close to All Might in Sir Night-Eye. Yes, it's very unconventional, but Sir Night-Eye sends Izuku an invitation to actually go to his agency. Now, this isn't to like work on some overlying project. It's actually to work with Izuku himself, because he has heard about Izuku from All Might as well. And he actually wants Izuku to meet somebody a little bit earlier than normal. And that would be Mirio Togata, or other known as Lemillion. Now, Lemillion does basically talk to Izuku, and they actually get along pretty damn well. And I mean, who wouldn't? Mirio is a pretty good dude, and overall Mirio is someone that is very, very nice. So there is no problems or you know, false chemistry there. But they do just mainly just kind of train, and Sir Night-Eye just tests Izuku for a large period of time, because he wants to know what the kid is capable of, what the kid's mindset is, and how he's dealing with kind of a lot of fame. At the end of the day, he is being told that he is basically the next All Might or the next reincarnate of some super powered being. Like, that's literally what they think he is. And, well, to an extent, they are correct. But Sir Night-Eye wants to know if this kid truly is hero material. If he can get past all the hurdles that are going to stand in front of him. And he just wants to know what he's truly capable of. And luckily enough, they do know that, well, Izuku basically is aware of All Might. He's aware of, you know, One for All and stuff like that. So they reveal something to Izuku that would shock him, because he never even knew who Mirio was initially, but now that he knows him, it kind of makes sense, and that's Mirio got One for All. But this does worry him a little bit, because Izuku, for himself, he was theorizing a little bit, and he of course is pretty intelligent. He was theorizing about One for All, theorizing why, you know, One for All could possibly be better in somebody that doesn't have a quirk and stuff like that. And he worries that Mirio does have a quirk, but maybe his permeation quirk is a good blend for One for All. He's not 100% sure, but it does make him extremely worried for him. But he doesn't bring this up necessarily right now, because it's not really super important, especially if there hasn't been any feel of backfire, at least in terms of Mirio utilizing One for All. It seems like for the most part Mirio has gotten a pretty good grasp on it, especially because he's already used to utilizing very intense and very hard to use quirks, so it seems as if he's actually doing pretty good with it. So that's always good, but he'll bring that up to him eventually, maybe a little bit later in their training, and he's able to actually do so when he's able to work with Mirio a little bit more for the next couple days. They do some training, some basic patrolling and stuff like that. Nothing too heavy. I mean, it's nothing insane, but Izuku would give his thoughts and ideas to Mirio about One for All, and also about how he could utilize it and stuff like that. And Mirio hasn't even thought about the fact that All Might was quirkless. At least to an extent, he was quirkless until he got One for All. So maybe that is something to think about, but he hasn't had any repercussions so far. Yes, he had his struggles, and yes, he's, you know, struggled from time to time with the quirk, but having a brand new quirk is so unprecedented, and nobody has ever had something like this, so of course he's struggling with it. I mean, who wouldn't be, right? So it all makes sense that he would be to a large extent, and, well, yeah, it just seems kind of normal. And eventually, after, you know, bonding with this Sir Night-Eye agency, and bonding with someone like Mirio and Sir Night-Eye, and getting to know each other and stuff like that, it would eventually lead down the path of getting a phone call from UA High School. Yeah, a phone call from UA High School. Yeah, it's a scary thing, because once that phone call rings in, Izuku would then start hearing exactly what they're talking about. Supposedly something happened in Hosu City, something that they're not necessarily aware of to a large extent. Of course, they had some heroes go out there, but Izuku was not allowed to do so, and Mirio, for the most part, has been just working with Izuku. So they weren't super involved. They didn't think it was too major, because it was kind of spur of the moment. But of course, it seems as if it was a little bit more major than they possibly thought, at least at that moment and at the point. But Izuku would be informed that someone that he knew and someone part of his class actually has been fatally injured, even to the point of, well, there's a good chance he doesn't make it. Yeah, the kid is on his last legs, and that's Tenya Ida. And the only reason why he actually was somewhat saved was because of Endeavor. Endeavor saved him and was able to get him, but it didn't matter. The kid is extremely wounded, and there's a high likelihood that he doesn't live. There's a very high likelihood he doesn't live. And it would just be an added thing for all of them to deal with, especially as a class already having to deal with so much altogether. So when they're all forced back into going to UA, there's a lot of people and a lot of students that just have a hard time dealing with what just occurred. I mean, who wouldn't, right? One of your classmates, one of your friends is now hospitalized and probably won't make it. And frankly enough, that's probably what's going to happen. Now, news on that is kind of limited. They don't really want to tell the students exactly what happened and what could or could not occur. So they keep that kind of to the chest. They are trying everything they can to save him, but I mean, at the end of the day, this is the reality of hero work, and that's the first thing that Aizawa would basically tell them when they get back. He would say that he understands that all of them must be sad, you know, maybe even mad, maybe even upset, maybe even frustrated at hero society in general. But here's the thing. This is the line of work that they decided to go into. This is the line of work that they wanted to go into. That's the reality of it. That is just the facts of it. They wanted to get into this work. And they all hear this and they think he's being a little insensitive, but that's the truth. They all wanted to get into this work. They all wanted to be a hero. They knew the repercussions of being one if something crazy would happen like this. And that's the reality of it. And it's unfortunate and it's sad, but they still have to go on. And they should think about it like they're trying to be better even for their classmates. Be better for the person that's basically, well, is gone or has sacrificed himself to a large degree. And that is obviously a Tenuita. And that's just the reality of it. And they all hear this and think, okay, well, let's go then. Let's be the best we could possibly be, and so on. And the thing with Izuku, though, is he's not really emotionally tied to this person. I mean, yes, they're classmates, and yes, he cares that he's massively injured, but he doesn't have any crazy feelings toward it. I mean, he doesn't really have that many deep feelings at all now that he thinks about it, but maybe it's just him being dialed to 1,000 and to 1 million. He's just completely dialed to the idea of being a hero or anything in general. And maybe that's good, maybe that's bad, maybe that's kind of indifferent. Not 100% sure at this moment, but Izuku is just that way at this point. He's not really too emotionally involved in all this, but he does think that it is sad to a large degree that the person is, well, you know, gone. And it does make him sad a little bit. He doesn't really know the person that well, but it does make him somewhat sad to a degree, or at least overall. Now, this would lead them to the final exams, and this final exams would obviously lead them to the forest training camp. But Izuku isn't so sure what his final exam is supposed to look like, at least to a large degree. And soon he would learn what exactly it would be after actually finishing his written portion of the final exam. And after defeating the written portion of the final exam, or finishing it to a pretty good standard, Izuku would walk to the gym where everyone says is the final exam is going to happen. And once they walk to the gym, and once they actually start hearing what's going to happen, they are all pretty damn shocked about what they're going to have to do. And that's face down some of the teachers of UA. And here's the thing. Izuku learns his teammate is Katsuki Bakugo, and their opponents, well, the one and only All Might. Now, there's a lot to be said and a lot to be done here, but it seems like Izuku is pretty damn excited to take on All Might to a large degree, but he's shown on multiple occasions that he can take on All Might even maybe by himself. But has he really seen what All Might is truly capable of when All Might himself turns it up to 11? Now, maybe not. But has All Might truly seen this new version of Izuku? The version of Izuku that's been training day in and day out and has now excelled increasingly since getting to UA? Well, the truth is All Might hasn't seen that either. So who's going to win in this battle between Bakugo and Izuku versus the one and the only All Might? Well, you'll have to find out in the next part of What If Deku had Toji's Heavenly Restriction. And if you enjoy, show some love, or enjoyed, show some love, leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment down below, all that good stuff. And as always, if you want to see more of this content, make sure to show some love to the videos. I'll try to get more out to y'all. I don't know, I get kind of caught up doing other stuff, so I kind of get lost in in kind of doing the stuff I need to do. But overall, I always try to get the best content out to you guys. And if you guys are really enjoying it, I try to get it out as soon as possible. I really am trying. So if you guys enjoyed the video, show some love. Like I said, leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment down below, all that good stuff. And as always, I hope you all have an amazing day. Later.